if you learn to be loving by your own nature, not because of somebody else or something else. If you just become love, not love somebody, then you will know the nature of love. If you love somebody, it's a fickle happening, because no human being will happen 100% the way you want them. Every human being on this planet is going to disappoint you, believe me. Not because they'll do something wrong, because nobody can fulfill the unrealistic expectation you have of them. It's simply not possible. Have you been able to fulfill anybody's expectation, I'm asking you, entirely? Partially, but never entirely, isn't it? So nobody else will be able to do it. Unless you're still such a hopeless romantic, you're still waiting, that ideal person is going to come from somewhere. No, believe me, whoever comes, I want you to know, the ideal people whom you worship, when Krishna was there, his wives complained.
Whether it's love, or these flowers, or your life, your success, everything, it just doesn't happen. You have to create the necessary situations for it to happen, otherwise it won't happen. Isn't it so? Is it not so? Simply it won't happen. If you create the necessary situations, it will happen. You can't do it, yes, you can't do love, but you can make it happen. That's why you're wooing somebody, isn't it? To make it happen. Yes or no? If you can't make it happen, just close yourself in your house and just wait. Someday somebody will come and fall in love with me. That's not going to happen. You want to make it happen. To make it happen, you dress yourself in a certain way, you speak in a certain way, you try to be sweet to people and try to make it happen, isn't it? Isn't it so? So you want flowers to bloom in your house, or you cultivate the land, you put the seed, you put manure, water, and just maintain all the conditions and wait for it to happen. It is not that making happen means you go there and open the buds and try to make it into flowers. Now that'll fall apart. You allow it to happen by creating certain situations. But if you don't create those situations, it will not happen. Is it so? If you do not create the necessary situations, the flowers will not happen in your house. Only if you create those situations, it will happen. So whether it is love, or flowers in your garden, or success in your life, or enlightenment, unless you create the necessary conditions, it won't happen. So, whatever we do is not to make the flower, but to create the conditions so that flowers will happen. So whether it's flowers in your garden or flowers within you, you have to create the condition. So all we are going to do is, we've been cultivating your mind since yesterday. You started cultivating your body a little bit. We will cultivate your emotion and energy. If all these four things are properly cultivated, flowers will bloom. If you don't cultivate this, it cannot bloom. That's how life is, with every aspect of life.
You must understand, a human being is longing to be something more than what they are right now. If this finds a simple, basic physical expression, we call this sexuality. Sexuality means just this. Physically, you're trying to make something which is not you a part of yourself. For a few moments you may succeed. If you try this mentally, it gets labeled as greed, conquest, or maybe simply shopping. Some people go for conquest with swords and guns, some people go with checkbooks and cash, credit cards. The thing is, you want to include something which is not a part of you as yourself, that is the whole effort. Whether you want money or wealth or you want to occupy a nation, what is it? Something that is not you, you want to make it yours. Yours is an effort to make it a part of yourself. If it happens emotionally, on the emotional level, if you try this, we call this a love affair. you're trying to make somebody who is not a part of you, a part of yourself emotionally. This is a love affair. If you do it consciously, we call this yoga. Yoga means union. So all these efforts are fine, everything has its own beauty but has its own limitations. When you understand the limitations of all the other methods, nothing right or wrong about it, it is just that it will work briefly, it will not work for always. When you realize that, you consciously try to include. When you consciously become an inclusive process, if you sit here, if you experience everything as yourself, then we say you are a yogi, okay? So this is a love affair successful. See, because you are looking at love as something that comes to you or you yield to the process of love only because you appreciate a particular quality, a shape of somebody's nose or the shape of their mind or their thought or their emotion or the way they speak or the way they do things or the way they relate to you, something, okay? There are many things. It is based on something that is acceptable to you. If they do something that is not acceptable to you, love crumbles. Now what I'm saying is, I want you to look at this, whether love happens to you or hate happens to you, anger happens to you, misery happens to you, joy happens to you, it only happens within you, isn't it? It never… People say love is in the air. No. Because you are feeling very pleasant in your emotions, suddenly air feels vibrant, it always been, you missed it all your life, now you're beginning to feel it. So, whatever human experience, love or hate, whatever, happens only within you. What I'm saying is, at least what happens within you must happen by your choice. Consciously you must be able to make it happen. If you are able to… If your experience of what is happening within you is happening by choice, what is the problem? It only happens within you. Love is not a relationship. A relationship is a different thing. Love is a certain sweetness of your emotion. Whether you look at a tree or a dog or a man or a woman or a child or just at the sky, why can't you look at it lovingly? Because it's not about loving the sky, it's about the sweetness of your emotion. If your emotions are sweet, whatever you look at it in a certain way. Right now you have nasty emotions, whatever you look at it in a different way. So you have always associated love with somebody. No, this is not about somebody. Love is not something that you do, it is something that you can become. If you're willing, you can become love, you can make your emotion into a very sweet space. If you make your body very pleasant, it becomes pleasure. If you sit here, it can be great pleasure just sitting here and breathing. This is what we're teaching people. If you sit, I will show you millions of people, if they close their eyes, tears of ecstasy will just drip. Nothing, simply close your eyes. Ecstatic they are, bursting every cell in their body, because body has become so pleasant. If your mind becomes pleasant, we say this is joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we say this is love. If your very life energies become pleasant, we say this is blissfulness, this is ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call that success. Now you're calling your success with somebody as love, that's a mistake. You have a success story with somebody, that is, you have created pleasantness in the atmosphere between you and let's say 5–10 people around you. You're calling that love. No, that is actually success, because that needs lots of management. But for you to be loving, there is no management. If you just make your emotions sweet, your emotions are sweet and it's beautiful to be like this. It's not about anybody. If somebody comes, we can share it. If nobody comes, you can sit here with your eyes closed and still be loving. What's the problem? It is not about somebody, it's not an action. It is not something that you do, it is something that you can become. There is no such thing as an energy that is love. Life is a certain energy. You are a certain life energy. The many parts of this life energy is finding expression as thought, as body, physical action, emotion, and there are other dimensions, of course, energy action. If you can perform only physical activity in your life, the span and the scope of that activity is very limited. Because you empower your physical activity with your mental activity, depending upon the keenness and the intensity of your mental activity, your physical activity takes on a different level of… as if it moves into a different dimension because the mental activity. If you make a movie, if it's all physical, it's one way. There is a certain intellect involved in it, it's another way. There's a certain emotion involved in it, it's another way, isn't it so? So that's so with life also. So, these are different levels of intensity. Physical is at one level of intensity, intellectual is another level of intensity, emotion is a different level of intensity. Generally, people are looking down upon emotion as something less than intellect, which is a very wrong thing they're doing. Which I think slowly people are realizing they're talking about emotional intelligence now. Because emotion is capable of being of a higher intensity than intellect in many ways. Intellect has a certain coolness, intellect has a certain penetration, but emotion can just embrace everything. Intellect can know pieces of life, emotion can know the wholeness of life. So this is the reason why spiritual traditions always have made devotion the biggest thing, because a devotee looks like a fool to an intellectual person. But what a devotee knows in terms of life's experience and what he knows in terms of perception of life in its totality, an intellectual person will never touch that. So a devotee looks like a fool, but the real fool is elsewhere. So right now what's happening here when people are around me is neither intellect nor emotion nor body. It's another dimension, which is just pure reverberation of energy. If I reverberate in a certain way, some people will roll their eyeballs upward and simply sit there. Some people will cry, some people will laugh, some people feel that they realize so many things being there in that space. This is their expression of it. This is like, if I give you electric connection, somebody makes light out of it, somebody makes sound out of it, somebody makes coolness out of it, somebody makes heat out of it. Different gadgets are making different things out of the same electricity. So my thing is just to exude that energy. Somebody makes love out of it, somebody makes alertness out of it, somebody makes awareness out of it, somebody makes meditativeness out of it. That's left to that individual depending upon his level of evolution and his receptivity as to how he is. So am I creating a love energy? There's no such thing as love energy, there's just life energy. There is only life energy. Love is just one expression of life. Intellect is another expression of life. Physical action, another expression of life. Awareness, another expression of life. So life can find million forms of expression, but people elegizing one over the other is a huge mistake. All of them are needed. Love without the needed awareness and balance is going to be horribly burdensome. So what you're referring to as love is basically the sweetness of your emotion. You sit here and you could feel about love, you could feel love about somebody who is not even here. So it's got nothing to do with anybody. Once a human being becomes more and more aware of his own nature, he understands to experience love, to experience blissfulness, to experience ecstasy, even to experience orgasmic ways of life, you don't need anybody actually. If you just sit here, you can make it happen within yourself. Because after all, it's your body, it's your mind, it's your emotion, it's your chemistry, and you are the one who is creating all the experiences of your life. Because people are not conscious of this, that you are the maker of your life, you are the one who is doing your life the way you want it. Most people still believe that their experiences are being shaped by people and situations around them, but that's not true. Human experiences are 100% self-created, 100%. My whole life is devoted to every human being on this planet, every creature on this planet. So, the devotion is just a deeper love affair. When I say a deeper love affair, generally
these days at least, people are understanding a love affair as some kind of a transaction of give and take. Devotion is a deeper love affair of just absolutely giving. Whether take is there or not just doesn't matter and it doesn't occur in your mind. So for me, my love affair is just with everything that I set my eyes upon. Whether it's a man, woman, child, animate, inanimate, it doesn't matter. Whatever I set my eyes upon, I'm in a deep embrace with that. So for me to come to tears, I don't even have to look at a human being. If I look at a cloud, I'll come to tears. If I look at a tree, I come to tears. If I close my eyes, I'll come to tears. So tears is not even about love. If you tell me I'm in love with people, I wouldn't feel that's a great thing. I feel you're lowering the whole thing. I'm not in love, because love is still a kind of a transaction. This is a certain dimension of inclusiveness. Actually, in my experience, there is nobody else in this planet, nobody else in this existence, it's just me. In my experience, I don't see myself and somebody else, I just see myself. So, this is not even devotion, this is not even love, this is just inclusiveness. And this is not my idea, this is not my philosophy, this is the way existence is. If you do not constipate your consciousness by being identified with limited things like your own body, your own mind, your own culture, your own religion, your own family, your own whatever, your own species for that matter, if you do not constipate your consciousness with that kind of limitations, the existence is all-inclusive. Well, science can prove it to you today, isn't it?